For the Alchemy format, we have the Dungeon Delver deck here. We are going with the idea of using the Alchemy format because of the enhancements to all of the Alchemy cards. Even though Luminarch Aspirant's been nerfed by Alchemy, it's still just a solid card for the deck because of the ability to just keep growing cards. Maybe you might want to cut this one. Well, we're going to test it, see how it works. But with Cloister Gargoyle at 2, enters battlefield, ventures into dungeon. If we complete a dungeon, gets +3/+0 and flying. Will give us a nice early body that can become very aggressive. But also just serves as a decent blocker early on. Precipitous Drop, 2-drop, -2/-2 enchantment is already really good for early game interaction. I mean, it's one more mana expensive than like the deadweight that's usually in the format. But this gives us the ability to go into dungeon. If we happen to complete a dungeon, it becomes -5/-5, basically destroying most cards. And with this being a --/ mechanic, it means that we also get around indestructible. So that's also something good to know. And let's see, we have the Triumphant Adventurer who's been enhanced. That way it's a 2/1 instead of a 1/1. But for 1 black, 1 white, we get a Death Toucher as long as it's your turn has first strike. When it attacks, venture into the dungeon. A really strong card. One of the main reasons why you actually want to run a dungeon delving deck. Vanishing Verse as a one of the strongest removals in black-white there is. Nadar the Selfless Paladin, maybe it might be a little greedy going for 4 of these because he is legendary, but he's likely to get hit by destruction anyways. So I'm not too worried about having multiple copies. Like, having a backup of him in hand isn't necessarily a bad thing. So 3 mana, enters the battlefield or attacks, venture into dungeon. If you manage to complete a dungeon, other creatures you control get +1/+1. And it's a 3/3 with Vigilance. It actually kind of cool if we actually managed to find room to play the Mirror. So that way we can actually have multiple of these in play. And maybe that will be a deck idea we try another day. Asurek the Archlich. This one specifically needs us to complete the Tomb of Annihilation to be able to stick to the board. But for 3 mana, it enters the battlefield and then comes back to our hand. Enters the battlefield. If you haven't completed Tomb, returns to our hand and then ventures into the dungeon. So if you've already completed the Tomb, he doesn't venture into the dungeon, but you'll get a 5/5 body for 3 mana. That whenever it attacks, you get to create a number of 2/2 zombie tokens equal to the number of opponents you have. So since we only ever have one opponent, it'll only get a one token. The nice thing for this is in paper form, this will, be able to create multiple. Actually, they said that they've tweaked this. I'm not sure what they did to tweak this for Alchemy. Well, in which case, we are running Ishin as the only red card splashed in here. So that way, if a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control, you trigger it an additional time. This is going to be really good with the Triumphant Adventurer and Nadar. And even in the case of Asurek and Barrow, but mainly for Nadar and Triumphant Adventurer because it'll give us multiple triggers into that dungeon. And we could even go like into the Mad Dungeon and maybe actually complete that. And if you're not sure what the Dungeon Mad Mage does, there you go. You have a quick look at it. You gain a life, you get a scry, then you get to choose to either create a treasure or a creature can't attack next turn. Then you get to scry 2 more. Then you can choose to either exile top 2 cards of your library, may play them. Now, granted, here's the weird thing. The card there is worded in a way that might be a little misleading. It is you may play them until the end of your turn, or until the end of the turn. So if you end up venturing into the dungeon during your opponent's turn, you'll always want to create the 2 tokens over venturing into to taking the top 2 off the top of your deck. The top 2 off the top of your deck is really only you use it during your turn if you have the mana open to potentially play anything you pull off the top. In a lot of cases, it's usually better just to get the 2 skeleton tokens. After that, you get a scry 3, and then the last one is you get to draw 3 cards and reveal them. You may cast one of them without paying its mana cost. Now, this is a May cast, so if you actually draw 3 and you don't want to commit any more to the board, you can just choose to draw them and keep them in your hand. And it's like in the case of you draw 3 and you end up with this as one of your cards. You don't want to, if this is your only card, you don't want to try to play this for free because it's an X spell. It's bad to play X spells for free because you don't get to add anything extra to the value. But the last card we have in the deck that ventures in dungeon is Barrowing of Clan Under. For 4 mana, you get a 3/3, enters battlefield, venture into dungeon. If this attacks and you've completed a dungeon, you get to return 1 creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And considering all of our creatures are 3 or less, with the exception of Barrowing, it means that we can recur any of our creatures. Last but not least, we are running Kaya the Inexorable. I'm probably not pronouncing that properly, but there's some words in English that it's hard to remember how you're supposed to phonetically say them. In which case, so for 5 mana, you get a +1, put a ghost form counter on up to 1 target creature, non-token creature you control. It gains when this creature dies or is put into exile. Return it to its owner's hand and create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. She also has the power to -3 to exile target non-land permanent. And as a -7, you get an emblem. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a legendary spell from your hand, from your graveyard, or from among cards you own in exile without paying its mana cost. This actually means that you can actually play Kaya itself back from the graveyard or even exile, just because of using the -7. Not to mention, you can bring back Barwin, Nadar, Asarik, Ishin. All of these are legendary cards that we could bring back with Kaya's ability. So Kaya actually does serve as a very strong card if we ever do get the ultimate off. And that means that we could just uptick this twice, try to protect her, and get the -7, and then just immediately try to replay her and use her just to nuke a card with the exile non-land permanent. So it's a great idea at the deck. I don't know how well this is going to work because I'm not too familiar what's going on with Alchemy at this exact moment, but this should be fun to try out. Alright, so unfortunately we did get a lot of these enter the battlefield tap style lands for the first 2 turns, but I think this is actually a good hand to keep. Alright, we start off with our Shattered Sanctum. We've actually drawn all but one of our Shattered Sanctums for our opening hand here. Fire opponent discards a card, then they may discard an additional card. If they don't, conjure a duplicate of a random card from their library into your hand. If perpetually gains, you may spend mana as or. That's rude. Well, we'll actually go ahead and give up Luminarch Aspirant. We'll decline this second trigger, because a lot of our cards are dungeon-based, so they might not be able to actually make strong use of it. Like Cloister Gargoyle, they got that from us. All that is a 0/3 wall to them, unless they manage to steal more cards. This card, though, this is one of those reasons why I actually have a problem with the Alchemy format. This is an Alchemy-only rare, and there's no way to like draft Alchemy to help you unlock the cards easier. If they had a way to do that, then I probably wouldn't hate Alchemy as much. For the Alchemy-only specific cards. Let's see. First dungeon, I think we still want to go into Lost Mines, so that we can get that treasure token, maybe try to get this Kaya out quickly. I am going to keep the land. I probably should have put the land on the bottom, but I'm looking at the fact I kind of want to make sure we also have just maybe 5th land in general, just as a definite thing for Kaya. Alright, we'll go land, and we are going to attack with Nadar before we do anything. Get that treasure. Alright, opponent's going to block with the Cloister Gargoyle, and they're going to Deadly Dispute it. That's okay. We are going to get the Kaya on board. And we plus... And we make it so that Nadar cannot be permanently removed from the game. And if they do actually use a destroy spell or an exile spell on Nadar, it goes back to our hand. Alright, opponent, you're annoying with this. We'll discard this Nadar. We'll decline this. Let's first do this. Get rid of the Shambling Ghast. I want to do this because even if they Deadly Dispute, get rid of it and we don't get the Enter Battlefield trigger, we're making it so that they can't Deadly Dispute and kill our Triumphant Adventure. And now next turn we can just use the -7 on Kaya. And we'll just perpetually have Kaya. Opponent will never be able to get Kaya out of the game. Right, so they Blood and Snow to get rid of Kaya. We do have both of these still on board. We'll actually be able to start going now into one of the other dungeons. And Nadar will actually make it so that way Triumphant Adventure will be a 3-2 on the next attack. We have unfortunately drawn way too many lands. Draw a card. I should not have played that land then, because I would have liked to have gotten the Frost Dragon down. They actually stole the Frost Dragon from us. Alright, Blood on the Snow does kill our creatures, but they go back to our hand, thanks to Kyla. And now we also have these spirits. Alright, so we bring back out Nadar. We'll say this one. We'll actually go ahead and discard the land. And we're going to pass turn. We are not going to bring Triumphant Adventure to the board because I'm imagining our opponent has another sweeper, whether it be Meathook Massacre or another Blood on the Snow. And that's exactly what I was playing around. Because that is 3 Blood on the Snows from our opponent. That's going to make us be forced to discard Nadar. That is unfortunate. We will play the Precipitous Drop, get rid of Shambling Ghast. I'm getting rid of Shambling Ghast purely because I don't have to deal with that -1/-1 trigger it has. Alright, does the opponent sacrifice anything? You know, we'll just lose the 2 life. Bring the Triumphant Adventurer out. Next turn, if we can attack him with the Adventurer, we'll get the 4/4 Death Touch creature. Alright, Brush Stroke for the opponent. Gives them the Blood Artist. And they have the Curse-Bound Witch. I do not like them having Curse-Bound Witch there. Because now they get to go find themselves something at random. There's too many cards that can grab that are very oppressive. Alright, we take the hit. There's no reason to block that. Ooh, Ishin. Alright. We attack in. I think it might have been better actually for us to have attacked with the cave, but I wanted to go for the Ishin because I wanted to see the double attack triggers. Do we get greedy and go Dungeon to Mad Mage here, or do we go for the Lost Mine of Pandelver? Actually, I think I'm going to go Tomb of Annihilation again, just to force the opponent to lose more life. Now, if the opponent does attack in with the City's Connoisseur, we do not block it. We will take the hit. We will grab... I don't think it really matters which one we grab. How does this one work again? Draw two cards and cards in your hand with mana value greater than 3 per picture game. When you cast a spell, lose 1 life. I should actually probably run that card for the deck. Do we attack with Ishin? I think we do. So, we go ahead and do this. We will discard our land. Do this. Sacrifice the land. The reason why I'm sacrificing the land is we are at a low enough life total. It's a little dangerous for us to not do that. I didn't really want to attack with the Ishin, but the opponent has too many things on their side that would be a little too dangerous if we didn't go on the aggressive plan here. Unfortunately, I think we're still dead. Because, let's see, they can activate this. 3... They don't have the ability to activate that. Alright, Curse of Leeches. That robs us of life at... Let's see, at the beginning of Enchanted Player's upkeep. So we can't play any creatures? Oh, no, at the beginning of Enchanted Player's upkeep, they lose 3 unless they sacrifice. So we have to decline. Again, more land. Alright, so I think what we actually should do, since we're in the Alchemy format, is we do take advantage of the, what's it called? Painful Bond. Put that into the deck. Because we're just straight up dead. Because they can just sacrifice this, drain us for that last point. Alright, thanks to the opponent showing us Painful Bond, we know a card that will help us out, because most of our cards are less than 3. See, look, let's go ahead and edit the deck. Oh yeah, off the one craft I did, maybe not craft, but one pack I got for free from them releasing this new Alchemy set. I ended up getting a Painful Bond earlier. Let's see, so if we bring in Painful Bond, what do we take out for it? I kind of like the idea of bringing in 3 of them. I guess we can go down 1 Precipitous Drop. Go down 1 Nadar, because I think 4 of them might be a little greedy. And I guess we'll go down 1 Borrowing, and we'll try it like that. This actually seems like a really good hand. We'll keep. Well, the opponent's going to be stuck with whatever hand that they had there. Oh, okay, opponent is there. Oh, we actually ended up top decking into the adventure. So this is exactly what I was actually kind of hoping to draw. Because now we can go land into Ishin. We get ourselves double trigger for the adventure. Alright, we're going to stick with Lost Mine. Alright, we are going to leave that on top, because I want the ability to potentially multi-spell. If the opponent doesn't have an answer to this board, we'll at least be able to get ourselves another... I was going to say another attack trigger for going straight into the draw trigger. Sadly, the opponent did have an answer, but let's go for the Cloister Gargoyle. Make the opponent lose a life. We get to attack in, see what we draw before we put a Luminarch Aspirant on the board. That's a good draw. Alright, we put the Luminarch Aspirant on the board, and end step, we'll put a +1/+1 counter on Gargoyle. Now, we are potentially running ourselves into a Doomscar, considering this is white and they have a Foretold card. But I don't think we have the option to not put a little bit of an aggressive board state here. Next turn, we can play Archlich, get ourselves another Dungeon Delve, attack, potentially get another one from that as well. Seems the opponent is pinched on their mana. It's a little unfortunate that our opponent is in such a way. I mean, fortunate for us, but unfortunate for them. We go for the Tomb of Annihilation here. Get a nice healthy hit. Let's Painful Bond. Try to see if we can draw another land. Oh, this actually affects our hold hand. Maybe it was probably better to play Azure first then. Because this is actually a downside to the deck that I think about. Because every single time we play Azure, this one specifically, it's going to make us lose life. Alright, opponent discards a Test of Talents. For our +1/+1 counter, we will go ahead and put it on the Adventure this time. Our Fateful Absence does kill that. Try to think what's the best course here. We actually have enough to be lethal. They don't have an answer here. This is lethal. Okay. So they do actually have an answer for that. We had to try to go for it. We'll decline. We'll lose the 2 life. Alright, opponent's down to 1. What this means is, the moment we finish our dungeon and go into the dungeon again, we just kill the opponent. Because the moment we hit Tomb of Annihilation, at the start, each player loses a life. That will kill him. So we can play Cloister Gargoyle after we complete it with the Archlich here and finish the game. Alright, opponent has scooped up. I'm curious what the card was that they had foretold. Saw it coming. Okay. Well, there we go. Alright, so off the open, I think this one's actually a pretty decent keep if we're against a creature deck, because double Precipitous Drop and the Dar seems pretty good. Late game, we have a Kaya for hand, so yeah, this actually seems very keepable. We're just gonna lead with this because we don't have a turn 1 play anyways. Alright. Veteran, I think we still need to get that off the board. But I think we're against the white, blue, black cleric deck. Even with the nerf adjustment to a very specific card, Glasspool Mimic is still a strong combo piece in that deck. Let's see. We go into the Lost Mines. We will keep the Luminarch Aspirant. Alright, a veteran for our opponent. We will attempt Nadar. Alright, Nadar manages to resolve. The reason why I say attempt is the opponent had 2 mana there. There's still always the possibility of a Jawari's Disruption to have countered our Paladin. But also it's double blue. With Essence Capture being a reprint, that was also a possibility from our opponent. Now, I honestly wouldn't have expected the Essence Capture, but Jawari's Disruption still was a possible card they could have played. Alright, so let's see. We will bring out a Pathway on black. We'll go Precipitous Drop on the Clerics of Life Bond. And actually, we'll choose this. Further say this doesn't get to do any damage here. Go for the Luminarch Aspirant. Attack in. Draw a card. Actually, I should have used the -4 on this, because I forgot that we were going to complete the dungeon there. But opponent uses that as a chump block. Let's go ahead and put the counter on Aspirin. I chose not to put it on Nadar because there's a possibility that the opponent is running I'm blanking on the spell. The card that gives a creature indestructible or destroys anything with toughness 4 or greater. Defiant Strike, I think. Alright, well, let's go ahead and put this on black. We'll go for Kaya. Use it for the plus on Luminarch Aspirant. And pass the turn. I went for the plus instead of using the minus, because this way, if they do have an answer spell for our Luminarch Aspirant, we can still get the Aspirant put back into our hand, and we also get the 1/1 token for being a chump blocker. Alright, bring this out on white. Go for Adventure. Attempt to plus the Adventure. Bring out the other Adventure. And we'll go for Asark. Now, with this, we actually are going to go ahead and start delving into the Tomb of Annihilation. We hold up on the blocks here, put another counter on the Aspirant, or Aspirant. Alright, opponent revitalizes. Because of Cleric's Life's Bond ability to gain +1/+1 counters once each turn, it was able to get a counter on it because it was our turn. Yep, there's the Inquisitor Captain, which I was expecting from their deck. Even with the nerf on it, so that way, you know, if they go for a Glasspool Mimic, they can't just copy Captain and keep going for more Captain triggers. it's still a very strong card in their deck. Alright, Spellbinder gets the Taxi Acerec. But we can play it from the exile, puts it back in our hand, and it'll no longer have that tax on it. But we'll be able to actually also minus the Kaya here and be able to replay it, start exiling their cards. So, opponent is going to be in a very bad state here. Let's see, at the beginning of your, you may cast legendary spells from your hand, from your graveyard, or from... Hello? Oh, it's upkeep, upkeep. We can't do it immediately. Alright, we will choose the Veils of Fear. We attack in here. Get even closer. We'll go ahead and actually sacrifice one of these lands. A little worried about getting ourselves too low on life against this opponent. In order for them to kill our Triumphant Adventure, they will have to triple block and accept losing 2 of their creatures. So, I doubt the opponent's going to do that. It would be too punishing to them to go for that. Alright, they let the damage through. We put a counter on the Gargoyle, so that way we have a blocker against their Spellbinder. I think we're actually in a really good state on a lot of our board. Unfortunately, opponent does hit another Inquisitor Captain. So they may have found themselves like another Skyclave Apparition. And if that's the case, that means that we are going to lose one of our cards. If they go for the Aspirant, we will get the Aspirant back to hand, thanks to the Ghost form counter on it. But they choose to take away one of our Aspirants, or sorry, Adventurers. We will, my graveyard, we will bring back our Kaya. We will get rid of the Skyclave Apparition. Play this land out. Play the Acerec. And we do actually get to finish off the Tomb of Annihilation. I wanted to actually put the Acerec back in our hand instead of going for a it being in play, because I wanted to get another Dungeon Delve off here. Start going into the Mad Mage. Opponent is going to double block, but that's not going to do anything to it. And, yeah, opponent just realized that it does require 3 creatures blocking it, because it has power 2 with First Strike and Death Touch. 1 point of damage is considered lethal, so we just assign 1 point to each of the targets, kill them, and manage to recover there. Alright, opponent is going for this attack, so that way they can recover one of their 2 costs from their graveyard here. But that's okay. We get back the Nadar. Put a Ghost Form counter on Triumphant Adventurer. Bring out the Acerec. Cloister Gargoyle. And at this point, we're running away with this game that the opponent is not likely to be able to do anything. We'll go ahead and send in the big attack here. I'm going to actually put Ishin on top. But we're going to keep both of those on top. Next turn, once when we are allowed to attack, we can double up the attack triggers from Asterik, Nadar, and the Adventurer if the opponent tries to stay into this game. At the point, I think the opponent might just scoop up after they see their draw. Because there's nothing that they can actually do to stop us on our pressure anymore, thanks to the Kaya's ult. Because next turn, we can just use Kaya for the minus, remove another one of their blockers. And I think we have just lethal swinging in. Yeah, I'm just giving them the early GGs because I'm expecting them to scoop. Like, the deck they're running is not a weak deck. It is actually a pretty good deck. We just happen to have the early answers for them, and they did not have an answer for the Kaya here. Yeah, that is a very big voice of the blessed. Unfortunately, we just do this. Kaya is now back in our graveyard. We have Ishin, and we just attack. And all of these triggers... I mean, it's a bit of a shame we didn't get to see all the triggers go off. But I can understand the opponent's situation. There's times where I scoop because I don't want to have to wait for all the triggers, but...
Thank you for watching the video. Please leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe for more content. If you'd like to join me while I stream, you can find me on Twitch, the link below. I hope to see you again in the next video, and have a nice one.